Hello and welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's green. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the Bitcoin rainbow chart, Bitcoin price action, the indicators. Let's get into it. And let's start out with crypto fear and greed. And as you can see, we are back up into extreme greed. So recently, I was talking about some concerns that we were making these lower highs, lower lows. But then recently, at the end of last week, I said, this is starting to go up again. And that is what we're seeing. The reason why that is a good thing, you can see how when we have these spikes, usually that's a local top. But when we stay up high in greed, then the price can move a lot higher. And one comparison I will draw to is that back in late 2020, about December 2020, that's when Bitcoin was getting past its former all-time high in 2017. I'll show you that on the rainbow chart here. So in December 2020, right around here, that's when Bitcoin was getting above its 20,000 price, give or take, and moving on to alt season and the first peak at around 65,000, that new all-time high. But what you'll notice happen here is that it stayed high up in greed for a few months. You can see started around early November, and then the last greed spike here was about February, March. So we're talking 3 months, 4 months up high in greed and extreme greed. So if we are to see something similar like that happen again, you can see this first greed spike starting at around the same time. We want to wait and see, is that greed going to stay up there through the inauguration into February? And then maybe, just maybe, Bitcoin is going to get up to some extreme price, maybe 155K, give or take. So just something to keep an eye on there. Of course, most of us who have been paying attention to crypto are also in it for the altcoins, because even though Bitcoin can go up X amount from the bottom, altcoins can often go up even more, at least they have in prior cycles. So we talk about Bitcoin dominance, that is the overall percent of money that's in crypto that is in Bitcoin. When there is a rotation near the end of a cycle, that's when some of these altcoins, if you pick the right ones, can just explode and go up 5, 10, 20x or more. As far as the alt year index, even though Bitcoin's going up, I did see Bitcoin dominance is also going up too. And so that means money is rotating more into Bitcoin, that's flowing into the crypto market. So right now, alt season index coming down a little bit, but that's okay. Maybe it'll get down to this low 30s level and then spike again. And I'm still waiting for one of these big spikes. We've already had altcoins going up pretty decently recently, but when it is alt season, they truly explode, and it's an amazing thing. Getting into the rainbow chart. So if you just take a general look at this, one might think that, okay, when Bitcoin is in the yellow zone, it's at medium value. And when it's in one of these blue, green color zones, that you can get more of a discount. Red, orangish zones, that the price is more extended, that maybe that's an area for taking profits. Traditionally, yes. What I do want to caution you on, though, is that the rainbow chart also shows logarithmic regression. Log scale goes up by factors of 10, as you can see here. Regression means that earlier on it was going up higher, and then over time it flattens out. Not that there can't be amazing profits to be made. If you take a look at where the price is right now in that yellow zone, we have a range of 85 to 112K. If this were to continue, the yellow zone over in the next halving would be about 200K, something to think about. But what you might also notice is that each cycle, the peaks of the price go down zones, and then each halving, the price goes up. So what that shows me is there's decreased volatility, and that you can't always expect these huge spikes up in the red areas. I mean, are we really thinking Bitcoin might get to 250K. Maybe it could, but it would have to buck this trend of getting into lower color zones. Sometimes they show here we go. I think this says it best. The old rainbow chart, the new one's updated, but it still pretty much shows this. And you guys can see that each peak, we are going down a few zones. So if you just take a look at this in general, you can say, okay, maybe it goes down about 2 or 3 color bands, got to the orange. So about 3 color bands would be that light green area. And somewhere around 160,000 is where it shows there if we were to top by March or so. And here, if we take a look at, let's go over to April. Why not? If we did have an early top and we're topping by March or April, I'm looking at those orange zones, the third and fourth one down, which would show us the price range between 123 to 200,000. Now you see that top orange box says 157 to 200, and then the light orange 123 to 157. I know that's a big range. I'm looking for something more in the middle personally. You saw how 150K was shown on that prior rainbow chart. Here we're showing 150K, sort of right in the middle here. That's about what I'm looking at. And let's get into Bitcoin. So right now, Bitcoin on the daily, I do like this daily candle. It is closing on the 1618 fib here. I'll show you what that means. But right now, what I want to bring your attention to is that it is in this channel, and that I am looking for, hopefully, Bitcoin to break up out of this channel and start to make more vertical moves again. So you can see how this happens in the past, that Bitcoin, it can be in a channel and then break up. And if you want to find out where the channels are, you can see parallel channels here, and you find these peaks. And this won't be the best channel here, but just for an example, if it's in a channel and breaks up, that's obviously very good. This has happened with Bitcoin in the past, so you'll have to bear with me. We're going to go back to 2017 here. I'm not going to draw out a bunch of channels, but you can see here's a channel that broke down, but then here's a channel. Again, you're looking at the trend moving up that breaks up. You want to see those channels break up. This one broke down, but then it came back up into its channel, broke out of it. Channel broke out of it. So that is what happens in a very bullish market. And if we do see any channels break down momentarily, that doesn't always have to be a bad thing. Speaking of November 2020, what do we see here? Okay, we see some minor channels breaking up. So that's just what I'm looking for, those general trends, the channels breaking up. When I was talking about the 1618 fib, some of you newer viewers might be thinking, what the heck is this guy talking about? We have this tool, it's called a Fibonacci retracement. You can draw it from a macro high to the low, and when you take your fib and it is on log scale with your chart that's also on log, you can see it shows these different percentages. You may have heard about a golden pocket area that's right around the 0.618, I think, to the 0.65. Usually when the price falls back into there, good area to look at some profits, or I mean to buy in, sorry. And so here we have this fib, and you can see this is one way of looking at different levels of how much the price is discounted. Okay, when we take our fib off log scale, you can see this is where we can find price targets. Again, this works more for macro situations. So right now, Bitcoin has been battling the 1618 fib at around 102K. The next area, again, is the 2618 fib at 155K. The number keeps popping up. So if you're curious where the next major fib is, it's the 3618 at 208,000. So are we going to get that high? I have my reservations on that, especially because if we go to the last cycle, and this has been a phenomenon that happens each cycle, that's why we take a look at the rainbow chart. Bitcoin got between the 3618 and the 4236. So I am expecting some regression, some weakness towards these levels below it. But I will say, just one thought I have is that with inflation, devaluing the dollar by roughly 20% since last cycle, that maybe our targets can be about 20% higher. So 20% higher than the 2618 would be around 184K, give or take. So just keep that in the back of your mind. That's one reason why the prices of stocks and crypto organically go up. It's because over time, our dollars are worth less. So it's not always necessarily that it's worth more. That is a factor based on demand sometimes, but also organically with inflation, our dollars being worth less is going to cause these prices to go higher. But either way, I'm still looking at that 155K area as a major target. Again, zooming in, you can see that Bitcoin, we've escaped this double top trend line from 2021, and the 1618, that just looks great to me that right now the candle body's closing above it. We can make the 1618 as support. However, with this channel, we haven't broken out of it yet. Is it possible we might break down and this is just a local peak and it comes down to the double top peak here or the trendline Bitcoin's love? Sure, anything's possible. Those are areas where you could look for some support. We can also throw on moving averages and say, okay, here's the 50-day moving average, maybe the 100-day at worst, find support somewhere in one of those areas if it were to break down. But right now, things are looking pretty bullish, and we just want to see a break up out of this channel for Bitcoin. As far as dominance, talking about altcoins earlier, what do we see here? I was hoping for dominance to run into a ceiling here at the 200, broke through it. Right now it's wicking to the 50 and the 100-day moving average. So yeah, you can see it hit the 100-day. So maybe this is where dominance stops. We will see. If it breaks through there, then you can see dominance possibly doing a double peak and then dropping. We'll see. So right now, the fact that dominance did, let's fix this here. The fact that dominance was loving this 20-week moving average, finally broke under it, I'm not concerned yet. This is just a new low. Okay, it's broken that support trend, and it ran into the next support, which was at the 50-week moving average. So it's going to get a little bounce here. If it breaks down again, we'll see it get under the 50-week moving average. Then we have the 100 and 200. That's when you can see alts start to move a little bit. And then, in my opinion, when it's the 2-minute warning of the fourth quarter, that's when dominance is breaking under roughly around 48, the high 40 percentile. If it starts getting into the mid low 40 percentile, me personally, I'm looking to take profits from my crypto. So if you are new retail buyers of Bitcoin, just do know that by looking at the rainbow chart, you can see with how volatile crypto can get that it still has these spikes. Will that continue because the ETFs? I don't know. Just the stock market tends to not always stay bullish forever. So if you do find yourself making a 5x, a 10x inside of a year, it's okay to take profits. Now, maybe you're in the 4-year cycle mindset. Maybe you believe that at the start of next year, we'll hit a local peak and then we're going to cool off for a little bit. And then Bitcoin, it'll just do its regular 4-year cycle deal again. Okay, now if we take a look at some of the tops, let's go over to September. Okay, if we take a look at some of the topping areas, if we were in a 4-year cycle, that might be better for Bitcoin because you can see those orange boxes now have a range of 186 to 300K, as crazy as that seems. Or if we top, let's say November, December, we'll try to push it out a little bit there. Could Bitcoin have a range of, let's just say 200 to 320K, roughly? Something to think about, again, if the top was to be drawn out later into next year. And if we were just going by this trend of moving down a color band. Sounds crazy. I'm in the camp. I think as this plays out, I'm leaning more towards an early cycle top. But as I like to say many times on this channel, have a strategy that is greater than your predictions. Our predictions can't always be right, and predictions, frankly, don't matter. So make sure you have a plan and a strategy that supersedes your predictions where you can make money whether you're right or wrong about where the top is. Part of my plan is looking for that the 2618 fib at around 155K. When price starts to get up there, when the rainbow chart is getting into these orange zones, that's when I'm looking at taking profits, not buying in. Now is not the time, in my opinion, to be buying at a premium when altcoins are at their high in the last 3 years. When Bitcoin's at an all-time high, that is not when I'm buying in. I've been buying in when we were at discounted prices. So do be cautious with that. And if you are wanting to FOMO and buy in now, do know it is more of a risk at this point of the cycle. What else we see is that tether dominance, it's coming down to this trend line again. So that tends to signal local tops as well. Let's take off these moving averages so you can see when tether dominance has gotten near this trend line or hit it, that has been local tops as well. So something to keep an eye on. We'll just pop over to Ethereum, take a quick look at that. What's Ethereum doing? It's still stuck at the 888 fib before trying to get to its former all-time high around 5,000. Let's take a look at ETH Bitcoin, and something to keep in mind as we get into Ethereum here and finish it up. Okay, let's try that again. I actually tried clicking on the thing and I'm just supposed to hit enter. My brain's still waking up. Something I was thinking about with ETH Bitcoin, you can see that when Bitcoin is topped, when Bitcoin dominance is topped in the past, that has also coincided with when ETH Bitcoin pairing has bottomed. Now we can throw on the moving averages again. I showed you where the 2618 fib was for Bitcoin. The market cap for Bitcoin around that area would be roughly 3 trillion. If it got to 200K, about 4 trillion. What I want you to pay attention to is this trend line here. And this trend line shows where the peaks of ETH Bitcoin was. It did get above it here, but you can see where there's a trend all the way back here from 2017. So if we were to take a look, this is just something I want you to keep in the back of your mind. If we were to take a look where this trend line is, it's at about 0.5. Okay. What that means is that the Ethereum, if we hit here as Bitcoin tops, let me say that again. If Ethereum hits this trend line as at the same time Bitcoin's topping. So if Bitcoin is at the 2618 at 155K and is worth 3 trillion, and at the same time Ethereum Bitcoin hits this 0.5 trend line at that time, that would mean Ethereum would be half 0.5 of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin was 155K and 3 trillion, Ethereum would be around 1.5 trillion. And what would be Ethereum's price at 1.5 trillion market cap? And if you're new to crypto, you're new to investing, do educate yourself on what market cap is. It's not just a magical number that can be whatever you want, even though a lot of people in the XRP community and Doge community think it is, and their stuff can be worth more than the global GDP. I'm not going to get into that right now. But just watch out for crazy price predictions. People have no idea what market cap means. Ethereum's market cap right now, we're just going to round out, is just a little bit under 500 billion. Now, if that 0.5 ETH Bitcoin pairing would say that at the peaks, if they match up at that trend line, gets to 1.5 trillion, then we could talk about Ethereum possibly doing somewhere around a 3x, somewhere around 12K. We've been hearing Ethereum 10K, Ethereum to 12K. The key part is, though, is that Ethereum has to start moving. And I know a lot of people are looking for this to move sooner than later. And we have these price targets that Our around 12K, the 2618, give or take, would be at about that point 0.5 valuation. And again, it would only be at that valuation if it hit here while Bitcoin is up at around at or near that 2618 and everything's peaking at the same time. What does give me caution though, this is just for alt season purposes. What does give me caution though is you can see last time ETH Bitcoin bottomed, how much it had to go through and how long this took. So you can see the dates at the bottom. September 2019. This is May of 21. This was, by the way, at the end of the true first alt season. So it didn't quite peak then. Ethereum Bitcoin didn't quite peak at that alt season. You can see here, December 21 is when it hit there. So we don't have to necessarily come up to that trend line. Now you might argue, okay, we don't have as much to go to that trend line. So maybe Ethereum Bitcoin is just going to have a little bit of a move up to, I don't know, 0.4, give or take. Just something to keep in mind if we get an early alt season. Ethereum tends to do well in the first half of the year, typically. So keep an eye on that. If we are to get an early alt season spike, I want you guys to be paying attention to these charts, and we have to see this start moving sooner than later if there is an early top and if we are to get a true alt season. So right now, Bitcoin still moving up pretty well, but we do want to pay attention to this channel, how it breaks up, Bitcoin dominance, and the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing if we are to get an alt season sometime soon. That rotation of 58% of money in Bitcoin rotating into Ethereum, large caps, and then small caps. That is typically when the end of the crypto cycles in the past have been, right around when we peaked that first time. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. Wanted to talk about something a little bit different today. Each time I do one of these rainbow chart videos, I want to hit you with some different knowledge, things to think about. Please comment below what your thoughts are, whether you agree, disagree, if you're seeing it a little differently. Would love to hear your perspective. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.